Welcome back to the Always Reading Book Club. It is your girl Kiki Reader, and we are diving back into the Davis Twins series by Ann Omasta. Now, if you haven't listened to the review for book one, which is called Taking Chances, that link is going to be available down below in the description section. Once you finish that review, come back and join us as we dive into book two, Making Choices. We start off with our girl Abby. She is in the moment. She is touching one of the Davis twins. We don't know which one. There's a vanity mirror that she can see, and she's looking and she's watching, and it's feeling sexy. Like it's like watching her own sex scene, and it's really hot. And so one of them says, "Tell me, Abby, tell me how you feel, tell me what you want." And she says, she loves the way that they F, and she likes how it looks. And he's like, and the person's like, "No, tell me more. Tell me that this is more than just that." And they say, "I love you, Abby." And she's starting to go between reality and the dream. So she wakes up and she's fighting to get back into a dream. And the reason she wants to go back into the dream is because she was looking to see if there was a scar on the shoulder. So we know Sam has a scar on the shoulder from when he saved Seth. And she's looking for that scar. So she's trying to go back in the dream. And eventually she's able to do that. Now, I don't know if anyone's ever been able to do that. I've probably only been able to do that maybe twice in my life, where I could go back into a dream. It is very difficult. But she's able to do it. And she still can't see if there's a scar. But my thing is, why are you looking for the scar? That alone tells me you know who it is that you really want. She comes out of the dream and she still couldn't see if there was a scar on the shoulder, but she does come to the realization, without a shadow of a doubt, Sam is the one that she wants to be with. And so she decides she's going to go tell him. So she gets herself together, she goes to his place, and there's this blue SUV outside. And she's going like, okay, let's not jump to conclusions. It could be his mother, it could be his sister. But then when she goes up, because remember the house has a lot of glass, it's the house on the hill, the glass house on the hill, she hears this high-pitched laughter and she sees a blonde woman. Well, that's not his sister and that's not his mom. Then she sees him. He's got a towel wrapped around him. And so she starts to have like this panic attack. She has to sit herself down, get her breathing together. She winds up throwing up, thinking about him possibly effing someone, or it could be her morning sickness. She can't even tell at this point. But eventually she gets herself together and she gets out of there. She doesn't even realize how she got home. It must have been on just straight autopilot because um, she got home safe. However, I forgot to mention that on her way there, she was thinking about the fact that a woman could be there. And if there was a woman there, that hopefully they would give her and Sam an opportunity to talk. So when she parked her vehicle, she made sure not to be right behind the blue truck. So she gets back to the house. Court immediately knows something's wrong. She's like, "What happened? Tell me what's going on." So she's trying to say Sam, but she's starting to freak out. And she doesn't even have tears coming out. She's just having a whole freak out. Court is getting worried. She's like, "Oh my gosh, like, don't tell me you're about to go on one of those depressions that where you sleep for a week. Like, you can't afford that shit. You have a child now, you're pregnant." So she's like, "What is going on?" So she tells her, eventually she's able to spit it out. She says Sam, and she says Sam is who she chose, and that when she went there was a woman there. And of course Court is like, "Well, you don't know if it was something going on." And she's stammering through the statement. She's like, "But Court, he had on a towel. I know that's what it is. I know that's what it was." Right? So then Court says, "Did he see you?" And she's like, "No, he didn't see me." she's like, no, are you sure? Did he really, are you sure he didn't see you? And she's like, no, I know for a fact he didn't. She says, well, then you need to go and choose Seth. He'll never know that he's second choice. And she won't do it. She's like, no. She's like, Seth is an amazing person. He deserves to be someone's first choice, not the second. And even if he wouldn't know, I would know, and I couldn't do that to him. And Court is just like, but he's a stable person. Like, you all can bring up this child in a loving home. You know what I mean? And this child deserves that. You know, it deserves to have a loving mother and father. And our girl Abby is like, that's not going to work. Because if we're together, that means they're going to go around the family, right? So then every time she sees Sam, she's like, he's going to see the look on my face. He's going to know that there's something there, and that's not fair to him. I'm not going to crush him. I wouldn't do that to him. Court's not giving up. Court's like, we'll build up your resistance to Sam. I say, gosh, I can't take it. I cannot take it. Um, her thing is, it's just being, she was brought up in a single parent home. And she tells her growing up with a single parent isn't all it's cracked up to be. So Abby doesn't know a lot about Court's past, which I still think it's a little weird. You all are supposed to be so close, and yet she's keeping this huge part from her, which I think is a little weird. Just because, trust me, I get it. You tell people when you're ready. But I just wonder why she doesn't feel like it's something she can really talk with Abby about. I think that's what I'm more so shocked by. Because they seem to know each other really well, and they've been friends for years. You know what I mean? So it's just kind of like, I just wonder why she just does not want to open up about that. But she makes that statement, and Abigail is like, but this child is not going to be short on love. She's like, between you, between Nana Annie, me, this child is going to be loved. Again, Court is still like, this child deserves to have everything. She deserves a father. So we'll see how this all plays out. So she goes and talks, Abby goes and talks with Annie. Annie's response shocked her because Annie actually agrees with Courtney. She says, you need to try and make it work with Seth. She says sometimes she wonders, or she kind of doubts if she made the right decision by letting Adam go, who's a really good guy. She missed out with him. And then she never had a real shot with the other guy, which I can't remember his name, that played her. You know what I mean? She never had a shot with him. And she's like, she's never felt that strongly about anyone again until now. And she's in her 50s. So it's like, and we're guessing she's in her 50s because hell, Abby don't even really know. She's assuming she's late 40s, early 50s. But the way she is, she's like, hell, she could even be 60. She wouldn't know. And she won't ask her. So, she's starting, her and Harry are dating. It's going really well. But look at all of that time that she didn't have someone. She probably had some, loves and things like that, but nothing of real significance, right? And this, of course, confuses Abby because she's like, you the one told me to go after the passion. You know what I mean? And Annie's like, yeah, but you have a child now, right? So now you have to focus on what's going to be the best for that child. Which, okay, I do get that. When you make your decisions and it's just her, right? Annie could do these things. Annie didn't have any kids. So if Annie wanted to run around and do whatever she could because it wasn't causing an issue for children. But this is different, You're actually going to be having a child. So both to Annie and to Court, it's like you need to choose the person that can actually be a father who will really step up. And that sounds like that'll be Seth. And he also tells her you need to find out who the father is as well. And we find out she's been putting it off, her doctor's appointments. And so finally she made an appointment and they actually have an opening today. Someone canceled. And so she's going to go in and she's embarrassed because she's got to explain the fact that she was fucking twin brothers within this short period of time. But I get that it's embarrassing, but that's another reason why when we make choices, we do have to think about things. There are consequences, right? Like, you can do whatever you want, but you also have to be willing to accept that consequence. So the consequence is you done got pregnant, you have no clue who you're pregnant from, and you fucked twin brothers. That's what happened. Now, Seth did not handle things correctly. He didn't. But does that mean you have to go fuck his brother? No, it doesn't. I tend to like Sam better because I feel like Sam knew what he felt, but it was like he didn't go after her. You know what I mean? But he knew what he felt. He was more confident in his feelings. Whereas Seth, acted as if it was like he was done. So, but I also understand people can make mistakes and they do things. And it's the same thing with Seth. Seth made a decision on how to handle it, not realizing it was going to push her in another direction, right? But that was the consequence. But then on her, it's a consequence that you slept with the brother. And they're twins. They're identical twins, not fraternal. Identical. So they've got the same DNA. Hopefully they'll be able to tell who's the father. That's my thing. How the heck is that gonna work? Just say it. So we'll see. So she's gonna go to her doctor's appointment. Annie calls Court to go with her, and she's thankful because she really didn't want to, do it by herself. So they walk to the office, and that is the cutesy part about this town, as she describes it, is that really you can walk anywhere you want to go. It seems very quaint, very Hallmark movie. Yes, I love those movies. So that's really nice. The idea that they can just kind of go around that town like that. I forgot to mention. Annie said, remember Annie in the first book had that quote of "There's plenty of sardines in the can." So she said another one, which was, "Let me know how it goes as soon as you find out. I'm gonna be on pencils and pens." Instead of pins and needles. I don't know. It could be just the way she likes to say the little quirky things. I don't know. I don't know, but they're funny and they're cute to me. I like them. I promise you, I'm probably going to start using those in my everyday life. So they go to the doctor. She thought it was going to be a woman, but it's this older man. His name is Tracy Ross. And he kind of says, yeah, I get that a lot. Everyone thinks, the name Tracy, it's going to be a woman. He says, if you want to cancel, you can. He's like, but just to let you know, there's a lot of people in this practice, male and female. And if you do go into labor and there's going to be a male doctor on call, that's who's going to deliver your baby. So what we try to do is kind of have an appointment with each of us so that you're comfortable. There's some type of comfortability with, each one of the doctors. And she's like, you know what? At this point, it's okay. It's fine. So she just wants to get it over with. So finally, um, she does have this little bump now. So we've probably had a little time jump between the two books because before she had just found out. So now she's not doesn't have a huge bump, but it looks like a food baby. And I think we all know what those look like. So they were able to hear the heartbeat, and they pulled up the ultrasound and it looked like a little jelly bean. It was really small. He came back with the conception dates, and just as I kind of figured, still don't know because the time frame of where they gave she was with one on Wednesday and one on Sunday. So don't know. And she also has irregular periods as well, which doesn't help to figure out, when the ovulation is going on. And so when she said that they were identical twins, he said, yeah, that's going to be pretty difficult because they have identical DNA. So, yeah. So she, of course, left there in shock. And it was a nice for her to be able to hear the baby's heartbeat, but she still doesn't have the answers, right? She wanted to know whose child it belongs to, and she still doesn't know. So, but again, that's why you can't be doing shit like this. Also, I forgot to mention when she told the doctor that they were twins, he did get a look on his face, but he recovered pretty quickly. But I mean, you can't really knock someone. That is not a normal conversation to say, I fucked a twin on Wednesday and then the other one on Sunday. You know what I mean? That shit's not normal. So it is what it is. So Abby is having a hard time falling asleep that night. She tosses and turns, goes to work the next day, looks like shit. And Annie says, do you need the day off because you look awful? And she's like, no, I just need to work. So she tried to, she had cleaned herself so many times because she felt filthy and dirty for what she had done, right? And so when she leaves from work, she walks home and all she could think about is how the hell am I going to tell these guys about this baby? And when she gets to her house, guess who is sitting on her front porch? None other than Courtney and Seth. I don't know if Seth just came over or if Court called him because, Court is very much trying to push for her to pick him because he'll be a good dude for her and the baby. I don't know. We'll see if they ever tell us. But as soon as she walks up, Courtney was like, I'll go get you guys something to drink. And Seth says to her, you should be with Sam. I've never seen him like this before. He's a complete mess. So Abby goes, he's already moved on. And Seth says, are you sure? And she says, yeah. She's like, I went to his house to tell him I chose him. And she does see a hurt look on Seth's face. But again, she felt like he deserved the truth. And I do too, right? I don't play with people. If this is what it is, let them know. So if there's any hope, you kill it. I know that sounds harsh, but the longer you allow people to believe something could be, it's more detrimental and more hurtful to them, you know? So I wasn't mad at her for going ahead and just saying it because this is where we are. This is what's happening. So just say the truth. And she told him what she saw. And Seth says, I guess the apple doesn't fall too far from the tree. He's just like my father. Well, at first she wasn't going to say anything, but then she was like, no, I can't leave that statement alone. So then she's like, what do you mean by that? And he says that basically his father, he walked in on his dad banging another woman and he never told his mom. And that's why him and his father, to this day, they don't have a good relationship. Everything changed once he found out. And he's just kind of like, my mom doesn't deserve that, X, Y, and Z. Here's the thing, because I think he found out when he was a teenager, okay? Here's the thing. You don't know what your mom knows. They might have an understanding that he can do certain things. You don't know. On top of the fact, he shouldn't have had to tell his mom something like that. That's something for the dad to man up and tell the truth about. So I guess them both holding on to a secret, yeah, that could definitely destroy a relationship, especially if he ever looked at his dad with um any type of awe, you know, and to realize he ain't shit. You know what I mean? It's gotta be that's gotta be pretty difficult. She chooses that time to go ahead and tell him she's pregnant. He has a moment. And then he says, is it mine? And she tells him about the inconclusive results. And then about the fact that because, him and Sam are identical, There's no real way to find out. And then after a beat, he starts singing Yankee Doodle Dandy, and he says, Abby, I'm in. I want to raise this baby with you. So she looks at him like, you're serious. He's like, I'm all in. He's like, I want to be there for you, however you'll allow me to be. If it's a little, if it's a lot, I'll take whatever I can get, but I want to help you with the baby. So she hadn't answered because she was still in shock. He keeps trying to convince her. He wanted to know how she was feeling, wanted to know if it was a boy or a girl, all these things. Court comes out, and she's like, dude, just breathe. They are going to call the little one Peanut until the baby comes out. Courtney wants to know, um, like, when is she going to find out about the sex, and she doesn't want to know what the baby's going to be. She's like, not until they put the child in my arms. And Court's like, so it's just going to be a bunch of yellow and greens in the house, like. She says we can pick, Abby says we can pick one, we can do a pink outfit, we can do a blue outfit, you know? And we can think of a girl's name, we can think of a boy's name, but I'm not budging on that. She's like, it's one of life's great surprises, and I'm not going to know until the baby is in my arms. That's it. So then they were like, okay, well then that's what we're going to do. We fast forward some time. Seth is over there pretty much all the time. He only shower and sleeps, um, or when he goes to work. That's the only time that he's not at their place. And Court comes in one day. They're having this back and forth banner, Seth and Court. Now this is just me. This could be just, best friend and the boyfriend, you know, at odds or whatever. Or there could be an underlying something. I don't know. I could be wrong about that, but I don't know. So Court is like saying to Seth, do you ever go home? We're going to have to start charging you rent. And Seth says Surfer Boy still hasn't gotten you laid. That's what's wrong with you. She's sexually frustrated. She's like, it's been weeks and he won't make a move. So they're going back and forth, and Abby winds up having to pee. So she goes, she pees, because as she states, Peanut is always sitting on her bladder. And then she hears them still going back and forth. And again, I don't know, but I feel like it could be underlying something. Even though, yes, he did just say, you haven't gotten laid by your surfer dude. But I don't know. I just feel like it could be something else. So Seth says to Abby one day, it's time for us to tell my family about the baby. And she just kind of was like, she's not ready for that. She is terrified of what could happen, especially when she sees Sam. She feels like she might just be so pathetic for him. She'll see him with someone else, and it's just gonna just rip her apart. But he's like, his family's a big part of his life. Sam's a big part of his life. Like, we're going to have to do this at some point. And my thing again is, didn't you think about this when you fucked the dude, right? Like, just saying. You did it after you'd had what was it, the little Sunday brunch thing. So it's not like, she didn't think about any consequences. Let's just be real. She didn't think about anything. So she's going to go to brunch, not this Sunday, but the following. So that's going to give her 10 days to fully face the music. All right. So we fast forward to Sunday, but it's 7 days before she has to go. Seth is coming with her to her girls' night at Joe's shack. Court is like, what part of girls' night did you not understand? He says, I thought I was one of the girls. She just rolls her eyes. And he was like, if she really doesn't want me here, like, I can go. And she told her, if Court doesn't want you here, you'll know. So Court finished up and came. And then Joe came over and he's like, I need to talk to you in private. So she goes back with Joe. Seems like they're gone for quite a while. She comes back. Bombshells are given. Joe just got a phone call from social services saying that he's got a 4-year-old son, then the mom just died, and no other family member will take the child. He can't even he didn't even know he had a kid. Court broke it off with him. She said she can't do it. Abby's like, why would you do that? He's going to need all the support he can get, you know? Court ran out crying, saying, I just can't. You don't understand. I just can't. So she left, and Seth was like, maybe it's because, she did say she had a bad childhood. Maybe she's afraid of what type of parent she'll be. But Abby's like, he's not asking her to be a parent. And she's the most loving person I know. Like, she's always taking in stray animals. So it's just like, it just seems so weird for her to be objecting to this. So then finally Joe comes out and he's like, I can see I scared her away. And then not too long after, the social services woman comes in with this little boy. And Joe said, oh my God, he looks just like his mom. And so Seth tells him, you can go ahead and go home. We'll take over. Abby freaked out a little bit, but it actually worked out great. Seth was fine with the bar. She did the register, washed some glasses. Kitchen ran smoothly, so it worked out pretty good. Um, but I'm not gonna be terribly shocked if you don't want anything serious. If you don't want to get involved with someone that has a child, you are going to be around the kid, which means you're going to become a part of that child's life. And if you don't want that, then you should let it go. You know, I don't trip on people that you want to run, you go. That's your choice. Because I feel like what's going to happen, she stays around, and then she gets to a place of this is not what I really want. But now a 4-year-old child is possibly attached to her because she comes around for the dad. That's a problem. So I do think if you're not ready, you cut yourself, go ahead and cut it off. So that way you could go ahead and deal with whatever pain you need to deal with and move forward. Don't let people bully you back into, oh, you should be okay with this. You should be able to handle this because it's not their life, it's yours. So I'm not mad at Court. She made, I feel, the right decision for herself. The problem with Court I have, and it's the same thing with Abby, y'all mofos like to tell the other one what they need to do, but be doing bullshit, but be like making some crazy fucking decisions on your own. Like, you trying to tell Abby, bitch, you need to be with Seth. He'll be a good dad. Doesn't matter how you feel about his twin brother. You should just be with him. You should just be with him. And then Abby now telling her, it doesn't matter if you don't want kids. You're a loving person. You should want them. You should want this relationship. You know what I mean? So they both try and tell each other what they should do. And it's just like, both of y'all, you figure out what you need to do on your own and make the decision based on that. Because if you went based off y'all be in some fucked up shit. So Court's not doing well the next few days. She's just kind of curled up in bed. She took off like a week from work. Abby tried to like guilt trip her into, like you're a good friend. Why would you not want to help your friend? And Court just goes, well, I'm a horrible person. Like, she's not budging on her decision. So Seth tried to explain to Abby that maybe because of what she saw um, when she was younger, she just feels it's not something she can do, you know? And she just doesn't even want to take the chance. It's still not making sense to Abby because Abby feels like she knows what's best for her. And Abby was like, she'll check in on Joe, make sure he's okay. And she went and did that, and Joe's actually doing pretty good. He's acclimated to his life with the little boy pretty well. While he's working, the little boy's in the corner coloring, and he's looking at some daycares. He's lined them up to take him to. So he's also going to get a nanny for when he has to work at night. So I mean, he's doing what needs to be done, which shocked Abby because she didn't think it was in him because he's like a beach bum dude. But it's like when a person realizes or wants to step up, they will do it. No one needs encouragement from you. They'll do it. And he realized that boy had nobody in the world, and that was his child. he was going to do what needed to be done. And because they had never really seen him deal with anything serious, you wouldn't know that that side of him existed, right? How could you? But he's straight. And I like that, you know? So we have reached the day that she has been dreading. Sunday family brunch. She got ready like an hour earlier. Seth came and picked her up 30 minutes before he said he was going to come. They get to the house. Cold reaction from Janice. Cold reaction from Jessie, their sister. Sam's not there yet. The dad, Sutton, comes out. And they're at this huge big table. They're not outside, they're inside because today's temperature's a little chillier outside. So they're at this dining room table. Eventually Sam comes in. He does not bring a date. He is staring at Abby the whole time. Seth jumps up, makes the announcement that they are having a baby. The mother, Janice, says, "Do you even know who it belongs to?" It hurt her, even though, it's a legitimate fucking question. Still hurt her feelings. Sam stood up and said, "You are not going to speak to her like that. That type of conversation is not going to happen." She felt sick, ran out, dry heaved, and she's on the floor in the bathroom. She's so upset. She comes out. She hears Sutton talking to Sam, saying that, nothing's going to derail these plans. You know, you're definitely not going to let some girl mess up anything. Okay? And she goes to Seth and she's like, "Can we just get out of here?" You know? And so when they get outside, she told Seth how good of a friend he was. And he says, you know, he accepts his place in her life now. He tells her anyone would have to be a fool not to see the sparks that fly between the two of you. And so he says maybe it will be able to work out for the two of you. And she's like, "I don't know. I don't want to deal with this, situation anymore. I'm just tired." And so they go ahead and they get out of there. But I like that that's a realistic response to what's there. Would you really want to be with someone that when they come around your brother, you feel all of this passion and all this stuff? No, you wouldn't want that. She comes home and Court is finally dressed in normal clothes. She asks how it went. Abby and Seth just started laughing. Eventually, she starts crying like it was so horrible, but at least it's over. It's out there. Everyone knows. So she wants to go to Joe's tonight because it's still Sunday. So they still have their girls' night. And she wants Seth to come. And Seth was like, "I knew if I stuck around long enough, I would just be one of the girls." So they go. And Court and Joe, they talk in the back. Abby and Seth watch the little boy Jonah. Seth is really great with them. He's just a good dude. He just seems to be a really good dude and really great with kids. And that makes her happy. And that makes her think about her peanut and how lucky her child's going to be. So Joe comes out. He's hired a part-time bartender so he can spend more time with his son. So again, he stepped up to the plate. He's done what's needed to be done. And that's what you're supposed to do when there's responsibility thrust upon you. You know what I mean? You gotta rise to the occasion. So they had a discussion, and basically Court let him know that she wasn't ready for a relationship, and she's just not ready to step into that role with someone else's kids. He understood. Um, and he let her know he wasn't going to make things hard for her or work or anything like that. He completely understood her decision, why she made it. They're fine. She goes into work, and Annie hits her with some news. There has been an offer on the shop, and she's thinking about selling it. Abby, of course, is trying to get her not to do it. But I'm like, you're fucking selfish. She is only thinking about herself. Annie's saying how she wants to be able to travel more, and you know, the only thing that Abby can think about is herself. And she's saying that she's trying to guilt trip her, saying, what about my peanut? I thought you were going to be around to see the child grow up. And Annie says, I am going to do that. But I also want to enjoy my life and travel and do things I've always wanted to do. And me and Harry, he's thinking about selling his sweet treat shop as well. He wants to be able to travel. We want to do it together. And she realizes she's been so caught up in her own drama, she hadn't even realized how serious Annie and Harry had gotten. So she's selfish as fuck. Okay? And Annie told her, let's be real, we both know you do not have to work. And then she thought, she regretted telling that because Annie was able to throw that back in her face. Like, you got a sizable inheritance. You're good. You know? And she's just doing this bullshit. And she did annoy me. And Annie was like, you'll be able to spend a lot of time with your baby. You'll be able to afford that. That's a good thing. But for Abby, it's too much change. And she doesn't like change. And so she's rebelling against it. But people cannot live their lives based on what you want. You know what I mean? Bitch, you went and got pregnant. Tell me why that has to alter Annie's life. No, Annie wants to travel. I doubt a slew of people are just, she's making like a ton of money with this little shop. You know what I'm saying? She could be, but maybe she's not. And maybe she's tired of it. And there was no type of, you know, concern about Annie and what Annie wanted for her life. It was about Abby. It's like, bitch, that's how you got in the bullshit that you're in. You thinking about yourself and what you wanted, what your body felt, what your emotions felt towards Sam, and you jumped into some shit, right? So it's like Abby's selfish. She's a loving person. She's giving, she's all these things, but this bitch is selfish as fuck. And I just didn't like the fact that Annie wants to live her life for herself, and it's like you're giving her this response and trying to guilt trip her into not going and living her life. I don't like that, because that's your friend. The one thing you ought to do is be happy. You know, is life going to change? Absolutely. But life was going to change because you having a fucking kid. Even if you weren't having a kid, life changes. You know? But when you feel like your friend, especially after what she had shared about going so long without having that special person, feeling like she found that person, I would want my friend to be happy. I would want her to truly live her life, because clearly she hasn't been able to do that. So I would want her to. So Abby was a bitch in this scenario. So Seth is into his new boat project. Court, she's back at work. And so she was by herself. She went up to Peanut's room and she decided to do a little online shopping. But she gets this pop up message on her computer, and she's thinking this is going to be someone for Court, but she sees the name Sam Davis. He's instant messaging her, and he says hi. She says hi back, and then he's like, I met the woman of my dreams, and she feels this gut wrenching feeling. And so she replies back, she's a lucky lady. And he said, she's everything I've ever wanted. I can't stop thinking about her. And then he says, but she prefers my brother. And then she realizes, oh shit, he talking about me. And she says, well, I can't do, you with a bunch of women on the side. Like, she can't handle that. And he's like, he hasn't been with anyone else. He doesn't want anyone else. And so in her head, she's thinking he's lying to me because I saw him, right? So she's like, don't lie to me. And he's like, I'm not lying to you. It's the truth. So she tells him that when she went to go tell him that she had chosen him, that she saw him in a towel, and he was with another woman, and all of a sudden his instant messaging goes gray. She's like, well, I guess he doesn't want to talk now because he knows I know the truth. And she wants to cry. She feels exhausted, but she can't even cry at this point. Um, She just slides down the floor and she just down the wall and just sits on the floor in Peanut's room. So she's on the floor, and then she starts hearing boom, 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 boom. So she goes and answer, and it is Sam. They wind up having this really hot kiss, and then she pulls herself away, and she's like, no, And he was like, Seth told me that you and him are just friends, and he wants to be in my child's life. And he's like, he told you? She's like, he told you about that? And he says, yeah, he told me. And he was like, you really chose me? You really chose me? And she's like, yeah. And then she told him again about the woman. He says, that was my masseuse. She comes once a week. It's never been anything sexual with her. And she's like, are you serious? He's like, yeah. He's like, I have only been with you ever since that kiss in at the event, the charity event. So they wound up having this nice hard fuck in the kitchen, and it was pretty short, but it can be quick. So then he's like, I can do a lot better. So she's like, we'll see. So she runs upstairs. So he's hot on her tail. They go upstairs to her bedroom, and he's just kind of taking everything in, looking at all of her stuff. She's starting to feel overwhelmed, and she's thinking about in the bathroom. She's got all those different inspirational quotes, and she went in there to get herself together, but she didn't destroy him because she said, you know what, he needs to know who the true her is. So she goes back into him. He's got her purple dildo, which Court gave her, but she never used. He doesn't believe her at first, but she's like, no, I've never used it. So he's like, maybe we can have some plans with it later. So then he gets undressed, and then she gets undressed, and then he takes lotion, rubs it on her breast, and then he takes scarves, which are gifts that Court gives to Abby, and he uses one as a blindfold, takes the others and ties her up. Takes the vibrator, puts it between her breasts, all these sensations too so intense. They make love, his words, and then afterwards her stomach growls, and he's like, oh, you're hungry. And she's like, yeah, I have to eat every couple hours. It kind of keeps the morning sickness at bay. So then in all his glorious nakedness, he goes down to get her some food. So he goes downstairs, and she winds up having to scratch her nose, but she's tied up. And then she thinks she's got to pee, and then her nose starts itching, so she figures she winds up, she can't put her arm for some reason. Well, she's tied up, that's why, duh. So she can't put her arm to relieve it. So she winds up flipping her legs up to rub it against her nose. And that felt good, but then she's looking like someone's about to change her diaper. Then she hears a noise, something crashes. She yells out what's wrong. He's like, everything's fine. She's about to have a panic attack. And she hears footsteps coming out, and it's Court. And Court's like, I got a headache. I'm going to go ahead and go to bed. But the way she's saying this, she's like, she's smirking. So then Sam comes in. He's got this kiss me on the chef type apron on, and it's barely covering everything. And she's like, oh my God, Court probably saw him like that. Oh my gosh. So then he brought her some tea, non-caffeinated, with her cream and sugar. And he made peanut butter toast for her, which she loves. And he made it because that's what he liked. It's something that him and Seth would have different times when they were kids, and they liked it. And so it was wild that she liked it as well. And then he basically told her he just wants for her tonight. It's all about her. He just want to give her full ecstasy. And that's what he did for the rest of the night. We fast forward to girls' night. They're at Joe's shack, and Court, Abby, Seth's gonna come a little later. Abby tells her what she saw the night before. So apparently, when Court came in the kitchen, old boy Sam had his dick in the ice tray, in the ice thing. So it was like, what the heck? They don't know why he did it. Court did say, are they like twins down to everything? And Old girl says, yeah, down to everything. She said, wow, I wouldn't have thought. Oh, wow. So they don't know why he did it. She'll have to ask him one day. But she did say he didn't even use his dick for the rest of the night. Um, but who knows? Hopefully, eventually they'll tell us. So then Seth comes in. They're all talking, and Seth knows that her and Sam are together because Sam had talked to him, and of course he's cool with it. Because I think again, it really settled. This is a friendship that he has with Abby, and he's not the one for her, so he's cool with that. Well, then Joe comes over and he brings them all waters. And Court's like, Abby's the only one that can't drink. Where's my regular margarita? Joe says, go ask his brother to go get you some drinks, and storms off. So eventually he comes back and we find out what happened. So Sam came to the bar because before he had been sending his minions, according to Joe, to try and get him to sell, but Joe doesn't want to sell his bar. Well, Sam came down, and Sam has gone to the city council and got them to suspend Joe's liquor license. So they're trying to force him to sell. And when Sam came down earlier that day, he thought it was Seth, and sure enough, he realized it wasn't. And Abby's like, "Oh my gosh!" Like she didn't know this side of him, and she's like, "This is not okay," because she cannot lose this bar. She's hoping there's a different reason for why he's doing what he's doing. That night, she tossed and turned. She didn't hear from him at all. She didn't reach out to him either. So she decided that she's gonna go to his office downtown. I'm like, this is probably not gonna go too well. So she has to look up the address. And so on Monday she goes, Davis Industries. It's on the top floor, huge building. She goes, she's very naive to think that she went up to the receptionist, gave her name, and said, I'm Abigail. I forget her last name right now. And the woman's like, oh, he doesn't have any open appointments until like next week. And she felt some type of way because she felt like, wouldn't they know who she is? I'm like, bitch, why would they know who the fuck you are? Y'all just started fucking again the night before. What are we doing? Like, that is so naive. Well, anyway, she winds up um running past the receptionist. She figures the offices are down the hall at the end, and they are, but at the very end is Sutton, the dad's office. And for some reason, she hadn't thought she'd see the dad. Thankfully, she didn't. But again, this is where she doesn't fucking think. She really doesn't. Why would you think that the man that owns the fucking company wouldn't be in the building? Like, I'm just saying. Well, she goes into his office, and there's a woman sitting on his desk. She's blonde, and it looks a little too close for comfort. And the woman looks pissed to see Abby. Sam was like, Abby, what are you doing here? And so the woman says, Sam told her, I'll talk to you later. She leaves out. Abby starts, who is that? Are you fucking her? And he's like, no, the woman's in charge of marketing. What are you talking about? And he called her name's Emily, and he called her M. She didn't like that familiarity. And so he's like, I am not fucking her. And then she launched into this whole spiel about Joe's bar and Shaq, and, you know, he tells her what he's going to do to try and revamp the town, make it better, and starts laying out all these ideas, and she's got a problem with change. So for her, this is just absolutely not okay. It's not going to work. And she's just not okay with this. She's got a huge issue. She's wondering if they're going to be able to work because he's trying to do something that's really going to, disturb disturb her life, what she considers her peace. We fast forward a week. She hasn't heard anything from him. She doesn't even know if she can even call him her lover again. And She's still working at, Annie's store, and Annie's like, I won't accept the offer if you don't want me to, but she felt like she can't do that to Annie. She's like, I know this is what you want, and if you decide to sell, I'll be fine, you know? So Court comes to get her, says, we need to go shopping. She worked half a day, so they're going to go. They went and set up like a registry. The woman helped him. She was a really great clerk. And they bought some stuff. And then they went to the outlet mall to this baby furniture store. And who do they run into? Good old ex husband Larry and his chick Trudy. Well, Larry, of course, yells out his stupid abracadabra nickname. She turns around and he's like, "What are you doing in this store?" And when he sees that she's pregnant, he's like, "You're what?" I mean, he is stomped for words. Trudy comes over and he kind of looks at Abby and looks at Trudy like, "Wait a minute." So Abby clearly wasn't the issue. So it's the way he's looking is he's starting to wonder, is this kid with Trudy even his? Because clearly Abby can get pregnant. Um, Abby just wishes him well and she just leaves out. But I mean, it doesn't mean that Trudy cheated, right? Because it could just be together you and Abby weren't going to create life. You know? It's not plausible that Trudy and him are having a kid. You know what I mean? It doesn't mean that, but he seemed a little doubtful. And so when they're walking back, her and Court have a conversation, and Court's like, yeah, he's looking like he's wondering if that kid is really his. Abby gets home, she's exhausted, she's about to go to sleep when she gets a text message. It's from Sam telling her that he misses her. She texts back, I miss you too. And he puts it out there, are we going to be able to do this um, with what I want to do for the town and you not wanting me to do these things? And she's like, I don't know. And they're going to try and figure it out. He does tell her, he pops up over there and he does tell her, trust me to try and find a solution that will work for both of us. And we'll see. But when he comes in, he just holds her and she winds up falling asleep. And when she opens her eyes, it's morning. Next few days, her and Sam, only time they're not around each other is when they go to work. Outside of that, they enjoy each other's company. And he says, I think it's time for me to bring you to my family, to a get together. And I'm like, at first she wants to say no, but she knows this is something she's got to do. This is of her making. She was a part of this, you know? And she's really bothered by how Jess reacted to her because she really liked her. She understands the mom's response. She really liked Jess. And so it was, she felt like she was starting to form a friendship with her and it really hurt for her to reject her, you know? So she's like, you know what? She's just going to suck it up. And at the end of the day, these are going to be Peanut's relatives because her family's gone. So she tells him, I'll be there. We'll do it. And Seth is going to be there too. So maybe that'll make it a little easy for her. Maybe. We've arrived to Sunday brunch and she's freaking out. She put on a little cute outfit, nice little maxi dress with a little cardigan and some flats. She looks good, but she's terrified. Court lets her know Sam is forgiving you. Seth has forgiven you. You've got to forgive yourself. You know? That's it. So, you're going into their family home. Let's see how it's going to work. She's like, don't let their feelings about you make you feel worse than what you do. And she hasn't forgiven herself. And that's why these emotions and feelings hurt so much, is because she hasn't forgiven herself. So hopefully she can. It would be nice. I don't know if it's going to work, but we going to see. Sam and her pull up. Thankfully, Seth was waiting on the bench outside waiting for him. So Sam's got one arm, Seth's got the other. She's really thankful for the united front. The mother answered the door. She still thinks it's weird that they have to knock and ring the doorbell to their childhood home. I agree with this. The mom, Janice, comes to the door. She doesn't really acknowledge Abby at first. Hugs the boys, looks at Abby, says Abigail. They go into where the dad is. He offers champagne. She's like, I'm praying I can't do that. Stretches of silence go on. Jesse comes in, doesn't acknowledge Abby at all. At first, we find out her kid is with their father and his new girlfriend. And she's kind of like, I guess it's just going to be, they're going to make a new happy family now. Abby wanted to reach out to her and say something encouraging to her, but she's like, probably not going to be met too well, so I'll just shut up. And then Jess says, I need to talk to you alone. And so she follows her out. She follows Jess, and Jesse tells her, I can't believe you slept with both of them. Like, how could you do that? I wanted it to work with you so much. I really felt close to you, and then you go and you pull this stunt? And Abby just lets her talk. And then Abby says, listen, I'm sorry. She said, if I would have just met Seth and never met Sam, Seth and I would have had a great life. I'm sure of it. She said, but I did meet Sam. And you don't understand. He is all consuming to me. She's like, he burns my soul. And when the way she describes it, Jesse understands, like, well, damn, I didn't know it was like that. You know, like, she's like, that only comes along maybe once in a lifetime. So she's forgiven her, and we find out she's met someone, and she's wanting to tell her all about it because, you know, they've been at odds, so she hasn't been able to tell her. And she also tells her, I'm going to let everyone know that they need to let this crap go. The only person who can be upset is Seth. And if Seth is fine with it, no one else should have a problem. So when they go back in, sure enough, that's what she says. Janice, the mom, ain't on that tip. She's still pissed, and she says it, and she winds up storming off. And Sam had stepped in, and he was like, the baby's mine. I know it's mine. And Seth was like, I'm going to be the child's uncle. You know, that's just how it's going to be. And he's like, they're the three of them. They'll be a family. And the mom just couldn't accept it. And the father, of course, was just sitting there. And he told the people, the maid and stuff, whatever, or the just go ahead and bring the food out, you know, because he don't give two shits about Janice. Eventually, they leave out. She's happy to get away. But they wind up all having a good laugh because it's like, what the hell? What did we just escape? They leave from the brunch, make love, have fun. It's getting close to girls' night. He asks if he could come along. She's like, sure. But if Court doesn't want you there, you gotta go. He said, no problem. So he also had made the comment, you know, Seth, you guys let Seth come along, you know. So sure enough, he comes in. At first, Joe thought Sam was Seth. Then when Court figured out it was Sam and Seth came in, then Joe unleashed. And the crazy thing was, Jesse was coming to see Joe because Joe is the guy that she has been seeing picking up his kid when she when she picks up her kid and stuff. So they've been making googly eyes at each other, and she overheard him saying that he worked at this bar, so she was making a bold first step in coming here, and now all of the bullshit is happening. So when Joe sees Sam, he unleashes on him, and Sam is like, let's not make it personal. This is business. And Joe's like, this business is personal to me. He's like, I make my livelihood, and you're trying to take that away from me. He's like, I have a son that I have to think about, you know. And he told Sam to get out. And so Sam left, and then Jess made a comment about, I know my brother can be a jerk, but I don't like when other people point it out. So then Abby goes to check on Sam, and she kind of breaks down and says, I don't know if we're going to be able to make this work. It's just too much. And he's like, nothing ever worth fighting for is easy. And she's like, I hear you, but I just don't know if we can really overcome these things. And of course, he does the whole just have faith in me, I will find a solution. That night, she had a hard time sleeping. The next day, she decided to go for a walk, and her doctor had told her walking was good for her and things like that. And so she kind of is looking at all the different shops, and it's making her feel depressed because a lot of the shops have already closed. There was a consignment shop that was still open, and they had a sign that said, not selling out, staying, all this type of stuff. But here's the thing, I don't know if these people are necessarily, selling out, or is it a matter of the businesses aren't doing that well anymore and they want to get out from under it. That could be it too. I feel like she's not considering that part. She's just viewing this as he's coming in, Sam, and Davis Industries, and they're just trying to run these small people out of business. And I don't know if that's fully the situation. So sometimes people could be having, again, think of like Annie. Annie had this business, but once Annie found someone she wanted to travel with and spend her time with, the business then became a burden, and she wanted to unburden herself with it. So again, she's stuck because she doesn't like change, and we get that with her. It's annoying as hell, but it's just wild. But she made some purchases in there, and that's her thing. She left from there. She went to an art gallery that was still open, and it had a huge teddy bear painting. And so she, even though it cost a pretty penny, she decided she was going to get it, and she had them deliver it. And she figured, a teddy bear that's gender neutral, whether she has a boy or a girl, it'll work for either one. So she still, again, is wondering if her and Sam are going to be able to make it. So she goes into work, and Annie has got her going out of sale sign. She knew this was coming. Annie is over this, right? Annie no longer wants to run this shop. And so this is what she's deciding to do. And she's not being pressured. And she let her know that I'm not being pressured to sell. I'm just ready to do something different. I'm really, really going to see the world. That's what she's ready to do. So this again is why I said you have to look at every situation, and she's not going to know every situation with every shop in town because she doesn't talk to those people like that. And I doubt she visits their establishments that much, because she even made a comment that, she hasn't been to a lot of these in a long time. So if you aren't traveling that much to them, maybe other people aren't either. But again, this heifer just wants it there because that's what she's used to seeing. And she's just selfish. It's wild how she could be this loving person, right? But she is selfish. She gets a text from Sam, and they start going back and forth. And he's telling her how he's in a meeting, but he just can't concentrate because all he can think about is her. And she starts saying stuff, but leaving off the words. So she'll say, like, I can't wait to get my hands on you and start to, and then she won't say anything. And so he's getting all this anticipation, and he's getting hard. He's like, oh my gosh, I'm at this meeting and I'm getting hard. You got to finish what you're saying to me. And I'm like, why? You can't finish at the table, dude. You know what I mean? But they had a ball going back and forth. Um, he was a mess in those text messages, so that's fun to read. She also told him she had a craving for peaches, and so Annie could see, like, the way she was smirking, like, you must be over there sexting. And then she says how, her and Harry, they sex too. And she's like, I don't want to think of this sweet grandfatherly man sending those types of messages. She's like, that's just too much. But she's like, listen, just because we got older doesn't mean our things don't work. They like to keep it spicy. I'm here for it. Sam brought over a big juicy peach. She rinsed it off. She ate it. She took a bite. It's the best thing ever. He told her he's never able to look at a peach the same way again without getting hard. He goes to kiss her. Court comes in. She's like, you guys need to get a room. And she then shows them the painting. Both of them, the teddy bear painting. They loved it. Court makes a comment about, you know, something that, the baby's no longer really small, right? It's no longer the size of a peanut. Might want to change its name. So she changes it to Peaches. That's what they're going to call the baby now instead of Peanut. Now, he at first thought it meant twins, and she's like, no, it's just one baby. That's it. So she gets hungry, Abby, and Court's like, we better feed the pregnant woman. And Seth and Court were like at the house, like hanging out. Again, I feel like that's something. Like, I do understand men and women can't just be friends. Yes. But I don't know. Just that playful banner, I don't know. I just don't trust it. I feel like something's going to go down with them. And at this point, she can't really be mad because you was fucking brothers. Just saying. So, this is the routine. In the morning, Seth comes over, and in the evening, Sam's there. And Sam goes home to like shower, walk his dog, stuff like that. But that's kind of like the schedule that's happening right now. Um, More and more of the shops are starting to close. The consignment shop has now closed. Um, it is officially the last day for Annie's shop. And she, of course, is very sentimental about it. Abby is. Annie's fine. You know, Abby's worried that without the shop being there, her and Annie aren't going to be as close, and she's not going to be, a constant in her life anymore. And Annie's like, that's not changing just because we're closing, I'm closing the shop, you know, but she has things she wants to do in her life. That's it. So she just hopes that they'll remain close, but it's just she's walking around town, she's seeing though the progress. Slowly but surely things are changing, you know? And it's not like the stuff looks bad. That's the crazy part. It's not bad change, but she just tripping. Sam comes over realizing that this was a really hard day for her, right? Because it was the last day for the store, for the little shop. And he had a surprise for her. He is going to send her to like this spa for pregnant women, and she'll be there for a couple days. And at first she thought like, why is he trying to get rid of me? She didn't say it, but of course it's where her mind went. And he told her all the great stuff that she could do there, the walks, the pregnant yoga, all these different things. She, of course, looks like, I'm going to miss you a lot. He's like, I'm going to miss you too. We'll make up for it when you come back. So they spent the night fucking. In the morning, she wakes up and he helps her put her bag together. Court is downstairs. She's smiling, so she's clearly in on this. So that kind of made her feel like, what are they doing? So she goes to the spa place and she winds up meeting a woman named Amy. Amy is much further along than she is. We find out this is Amy's third pregnancy and she's been here twice. So when she knows all the tricks too. So because she's been here so much, even though they have you on a schedule, she knows ways to get around stuff. So for instance, if she wants a smoothie during yoga class, she'll say she has to potty and she can go and get it. She was even able to get like a pizza order because everything there is like healthy, but she's found a way to get pizza in. Apparently she comes twice per pregnancy, and her husband sends her here so he can cheat on her. This hits Abby like shit, like, is that possible? Why he sent me here? And Amy just kind of tells a little bit about herself, which is she grew up dirt poor. She doesn't want her children she wants her children to have a more affluent life, but that's not why she stays with them. She stays with them because she loves them with all her heart. That's why she stays. And all of this, of course, is just making Abby think, and it makes her come to the realization that she does love Sam, but she's not going to like accept these types of games. Like that type of shit she won't do. She'll walk away from him. before she just sits there and is this, doormat for him to do whatever he wants to. I was at least glad for that because we know how crazy she is about him. And it almost seems to an obsession a little bit. So it's kind of like I'm glad she at least has enough to say, you know what, if I got to pull back, I can pull back. Because she sees what it looks like to sit there and like suffer, basically, just to stay with somebody that you love. But how do we know that person really feels the same? Sam picks her up. They wind up saying how much they miss each other. And he tells her he's got a surprise for her and she wants to know what it is. He's like, I can't tell you. It's something you have to see. Then they do this whole I miss you. They try and outdo each other with how much they miss each other. And he does the whole I miss you times infinity. She starts rubbing his leg. He's getting hard. She starts jacking him off. And he's like, we're going to crash. So he pulls over on the side of the road and he fingers her, makes her come. She wanted to suck him off, but because of her belly, there was just no way she could do it. He's like, we have plenty of time for that. Let's just chill out. So they pull up to the house and Seth and Court are sitting outside, very much like they're expecting them. So this was a surprise. They've painted the baby's room. It's like peach and white, and the centerpiece is that huge teddy bear portrait. They've got a rocking chair. It's been in the Davis family for a long time. Their grandmother used to rock them to sleep in it, and so now they've given it to her. She loves it. She thanks him. Court leaves because she's tired. Then Seth leaves, and then it's just her and Sam. And he asks her, do you really love it? He's like, whatever you don't like, we can change it. She's like, no, 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 I really love it. It's beautiful. She hugs him, but as she's hugging him, it starts going through her mind that he wants to do this separate. He doesn't want to be a family. Like she thought they were going to move, she was going to move into his home, the glass house on the cliff, and raise the child together. But the fact that this was a surprise to get this room done in the house, clearly she's going to stay here and they're really not going to be together. And so she realizes she wants to get married and everything with him, but he doesn't seem to be on the same page. And so she says to him, I think we need to break up. And he's like, no, why? And she says, we want two different things and you're never going to want what I want. And so we got to let this go. He looks completely devastated, but he did oblige and he left. She goes probably, I guess, the next few months because now she's big. We do a little time jump and she finds things to fill the day. She's tried knitting, but she just knitted a lopsided booty, so she's not too great at it. It's been really hard, but she did not fall into that devastating depression. So it's a Sunday, so she's like, at least today she's got something to do. She can go and visit, Court for the girls' night. So she go to Joe's, and guess what? Her table is gone. Joe, Court, nowhere to be found. Sam pops up. And she's like, what is happening? He's like, just come with me. So he takes her, they walk, and she sees Joe, Court, Seth, and the baby Jonah. And Jonah, little boy, was like, you're going to love it. My dad said we could name the fish Jay after me and Jay after him. And he's just talking about all this stuff. And she's still confused. She's like, what's going on? So this is going to be the new restaurant. So this is what Sam has done. Sam bought out, paid out Joe. Joe took the money, invested it into this new restaurant, which he is going to basically kind of co-own with Davis Industries. I want to say Joe's 51% or 49%, or it could be the other way. I'm not sure. But once he's able to buy them out, he will. And then it'll be all his again. But this is like a new and improved Joe's Shack. And it's going to have this huge aquarium, which is why the kid was talking about the different fish. It's going to be an elevated, nice restaurant. It's going to bring people in, tourist people as well as locals. So Court is going to be, I want to say, like the manager of the place. like general manager. And he basically found a way to make it all work. And he took their table that they had and, of course, made it nicer. And it's now got reserved on Sunday nights. And so she will still be able to have her tradition and still have people, they're just in a better restaurant. You know what I mean? Like, you still get it. It's a better situation. So she hugs him, and then whoosh, her water breaks. So the Jonah boy is like, "You peed your pants," and everyone's like still for a moment, and then everyone jumps into action. Court calls her doctor. They're headed to the hospital, and the fact that her water broke, she's 2 weeks early. So in her mind, it's making her think that this is possibly Seth's baby and not Sam's. They get to the hospital. She gets put in a really nice room, and she's thinking, how much is this going to cost? Sam's going to pay for it, but still, she didn't want to do anything exorbitant. So it's a long labor. Sutton and Janice came, but they were kind of like off in the corner, a little standoffish. Sam told them, just go ahead and go home. When the child's born, I'll let you know. They left, and after so long, they told her, we're going to have to take the kid via cesarean. She's like, no, 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 no. I can do this. I can do this. Sure enough, she was able to push and get the baby out. It's a girl. When everyone came in, before everyone came in, um, Sam gave her a ring. He was going to propose to her. That was the other surprise of the night. He was going to propose. Everyone comes in. They see the baby. It's all the oohs and ahs. And she wanted to combine some names for the people that mean so much to her. So Court's name, her middle name is Belle. And her mom said she gave her that name because she was the most beautiful baby. So she wanted to use that. Then you have Annie. So she's going to name the baby Annabelle. And Kay, I forget whose name that was. I think Catherine. That was their grandmother's name, the Davis twins. So Katie's named after her already, Jesse's daughter. So she's gonna she's gonna put the middle name as Kay. So it'll be Annabelle K. Davis. And everyone's happy. They see the ring. They're happy for her for that as well. And then Sutton and Janice come back in. And this time, the baby must have just melted whatever she had away. She's like, oh my God, looks just like Sam. And she told Abby, welcome to the family. The Sutton guy was like, you're all family now. You're all expected to be at Sunday brunch and all this type of stuff. So it looks like everything's settled on that end. Jesse comes in too. Joe came in. He had balloons and stuff. And then Jesse and Joe, seems like they're dating. Seth reaches down and takes her hand and kisses her on the lips, like a little peck on the lips. And I'm like, I thought that might happen. And sure enough, it did. So they all leave out, and they go through the night, Sam, her, and the baby. And she didn't even close her eyes because the idea of missing a moment of her kids' life, she couldn't do it. So sure enough, the next morning, the nurse comes in. The baby looks like the baby laughs or something, and the nurse is like, it looks like the kids got gas. And she saw the same crooked smile, so she knows this is Sam's baby. We fast forward. They get married. He told her she could go anywhere she wanted for their honeymoon. She could pick the place. She wanted to go back to the motel that Marta owned. We find out that Marta and Danny have reconnected, so they're able to give their love story another shot. She gave Marta a picture of Anna, and Marta displayed it with her other grandkids, and they promised to come back and bring the baby with them. We finally get the infamous story about why he put his dick in the ice bucket. So this is what happened. When he went downstairs, there wasn't much in the cupboards, but he saw this can of ravioli. So he cooked it, But then Buster came and kind of knocked him down right when he was about to pour it, and it got put on. It fell on his dick. So even though he wiped it off, his dick was still hot. So that's why he put it in the ice bucket. And then she told him about her debacle of trying to scratch her nose when she was tied up. So both of them said next time he said next time I'll just make sure that I untie you before I leave you. And that's how it ends. Now, there are two more books in this series. I'm not going to do them, but if you all want to hear Court's story, Seth's story, they're going to be in those next two books. I think the next one's called Faking Changes. So this was a great little start for you. We wrap up our our girl Abigail, we wrap up her story. But again, if you want to dive into those, I might do those on my own time, read those. But those are some options for you. So what did you guys think? I really liked it. I thought it was cute, crazy, because that is still wild that you screwed two twin brothers in such a small period of time. It's crazy that you screwed two twin brothers, let's be honest. But I am glad that she wound up with Sam, because I feel like that was the realer of the feelings. I think the reason Seth had to kind of figure out what he felt is because he wasn't really sure. And she seemed very absolute about her feelings. And I think she kind of said that to him, to Seth, because she wanted to feel that. I think it felt different from something else and she assumed it was love. I don't know if it really was. I don't know. But it was great. It was a nice, fun read. Let me know what you guys think. Drop down in the comments section. If you are in the market for a beautiful notebook or journal, I do have those available. And the links are going to be available down below in the description section. Make sure you like and subscribe. And as always, I truly do thank you all for your support. And thank you for tuning in to the Always Reading Book Club.